Hello, welcome back to Sharks Happen. My name is Hal. I am your host. We go over shark attacks, large shark attacks from the 1900s till present. Today we got a great show. We got a couple creepy attacks, one on a surfer, another on a diver, a few other stories we're going to go through. I wanted to bring up real quick in this introduction so that everybody hears this. There seems to be a bot out there, and I've noticed it in the comment section when I went through it the other day, and it has the Sharks Happen logo on the left, but it says "Let's Talk" or something like that. You're not going to get something like that from me. It's probably a scam where they're trying to get your attention so that you contact them and they're going to ask for something. I'm not asking you for anything. I don't need anything. So these bots that pop in there and they're asking to have a conversation with you, that's not what I use for my comment section for. I use it a one-way thing. I answer the comments. I read them all. You'll see me click like on them, even the ones where people are upset that they don't get to see the sharks or see the videos. I read all the comments. So if you see something where somebody's telling you, let's have a conversation, that's not me. You're going to get a one-sided answer, and I'm not going to go back and look. So if you wanted to reply to something that I've said earlier and you want me to see it, you're going to have to re-comment. And that's how I'm going to see it. I try to get on there every few days and keep up with these comments. I love that part of the show. I'm probably even slower at getting back to people on email. Sometimes I miss them. Sometimes I have to search through other folders, the spam, and find some things in there and run across them late. So if you haven't heard from me in a while on email, I usually go through them and open them up because I got to make sure none of them are from anybody from the store that has a question, complaint, anything like that has to do a return. So I do look at them real quick, and if I see that it's a conversation type thing, I let that go until I go ahead and answer them all. I usually do that kind of like with the comment section. I do all that at one time and take care of all that. So if you are seeing those bots pop up telling you to talk to them, you can go ahead and report it. You can report it as spam or report the user as unwanted. I'll try to do the same, but there's so many of them I don't know that I can go through and get them all, especially from the ones I've already commented on and seen. So I just wanted everybody to be aware of that. Let's not let scammers ruin our day. Don't answer anybody that's on there. You're either going to see a comment from me or a like, and that's it. You're not going to see something where it says that I'm going to have a conversation. We'll get started with the show. Okay, we're going to start up the show off of Key Colony Beach. That's in the Florida Keys, and the date is September 26th of 2009. Daniel Callahan, he is out going to take a dip in his canal. It's about 5:30. He jumps into the canal. He says within 30 seconds he was bitten. He was bitten in the right foot. The shark grabbed him and started to pull him down. He had looked down and realized it was a shark, and he went to go kick at it, and the shark goes ahead and releases him. He says the whole thing took about 30 seconds. So he's in the water, immediately bitten in the foot. Things trying to drag him underwater. He's able to kick himself free, and he's heading to the dock. Now, instead of going to the normal ladder that he goes to, he's going, maybe the ladder is closer to him, but it hasn't been maintained, so he gets a barnacle through his left foot heading up there. So he's got his right foot is all torn up from the shark, and his left foot has a barnacle that went through it as he was climbing up this older ladder to get up onto the dock. He gets up, he gets in 130 stitches it took. They believe this was an 8-foot bull shark that got a hold of him. Very similar to Thaddeus Kabinski, only Thaddeus Kabinski, I think, jumped into a larger shark first of all. But he had heard, him and his wife heard that splashing commotion before he jumped in, and it's my impression that shark was able to successfully feed, and that's why when he jumped in, the shark only came over and bit him instead of going further, and then it went on its way. So that's our attack on Daniel Callahan. An attack, not an attempt to predate, by an 8-foot bull shark. Okay, now we're going to head over to Leffington's Landing, and that is in California. The date, May 12th, 2012. Joey Nocchi, or Nocchi, he is 30 years old, and he's with 2 friends, and they're out doing some kayaking. They're 150 to 200 yards from shore. 30 feet deep water at 2:30 in the afternoon, and they're kayaking along when suddenly Joey says it sounded like a baseball bat when the shark hit the stern side of his kayak, sending the kayak and Joey 5 feet up in the air and from what the witnesses, his two buddies say, the shark was 5 feet up in the air too, then completely out of the water. So Joey falls out the port side and he lands in the water. The kayak flips over and lands a little ways from Joey, and in between both is the shark. Lands right in between them. Now Joey is being held up by his suit, by his life jacket, and he doesn't want to touch the shark. It's right on him, but he puts his arms back as the shark starts swimming forward to get away from him. You know, the midsection and the tail is coming. Well, the tail actually grazes him even though he didn't want to touch it. The tail ends up hitting him as he's going by. The tail hit the kayak and hit him, and then the shark went on its way. His witnesses said that the shark was completely out of the water, mouth open after it hit the kayak, so all three of them must have been in the water, in the air at the same time. The way they landed is just crazy. But Joey is not injured in this attack. There's some injury to the kayak, so we're going to put this down as an attack on the kayak, not an attempt to predate, and the kayak survives little injury. So that's our story of Joey Nocchi, 30 years old. Okay, now we're going to head over to Port Elizabeth, to Pollock Beach. That is in South Africa. The date, July 30th, 1993. Ralph Laroux, he is 28 years old, and he is out doing some surfing. He is about 60 yards from shore in 7 feet deep water, and it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. There's about 15 people on the beach. There's 4 others in the water that are surfing. They're further out from him. And like I said, he's sitting there at 3 o'clock in the afternoon in 7 feet deep water waiting for his wave. He's only been out there surfing for about 10 minutes. He's facing a little seaward when he is hit like a truck. He said a shark comes in and grabs onto his board. He gets knocked off the side on the immediate hit. And now he notices the shark is biting on his board. So he goes swimming for those rocks that are only 15 to 20 feet away. Shark eventually lets go of the board. It was still attached to his ankle leash. He makes it to the rocks. The board comes over with him. No further injury. He did get injured during the initial attack. He got 2 puncture wounds just below his nipple, and his thumb was broken and lacerated. The gentlemen that were out on the board, out on their boards, further out to sea from him, he's in 7 feet deep water. These others are further out, they're in deeper water. They mentioned seeing a shadow swim underneath them. A large shadow swim underneath them on the way to go get him. So they actually saw the shark go under them to go get Ralph. They ended up with a 14-inch wide bite mark to the board. It bit it 6 times, all the way along the length. You can see big arcs. This shark was just biting on that board and got bit it 6 times. So the board has been bit 6 times. It's a lot of bites for the board, not as many as that woman over in Israel took, from 12, but 6 very hard bites because there's 6 indentations of almost a full mouth on the thing. They said it was a white shark, 12 to 14 feet long, that did this, so we're going to put it down as an attack, not an attempt to predate, on Ralph Laroux. Okay, now we're going to head over to Super Tubes, and that is located in Jeffreys Bay of South Africa. The date is October 9th of 2004. Wayne Monk is 34 years old, and he is out doing some surfing. He says he has just gotten done. It's in the morning, and he is in a 1 to 2 meter wave, and he says he took this wave almost all the way into shore, and then he kicked out of the wave. Sounds like it was pretty deep when he kicked out, because as soon as he kicked out, he says, I think I landed right next to the shark. So he lands next to a shark. He says this shark grabbed him by the foot and started taking him under immediately. Now he's still holding on to his board, and that's keeping him from being taken under water fully, and he pops up after the first time he gets out of water, but his ankle leash was busted and it's not holding on to there. So the shark, he's yelling to somebody that a shark's got me. You could see something brown below him, and he knew a shark had him. He's yelling to other people. Now another surfer is coming over to help him out, and good thing he did, because like I said, he was holding onto his board. Well, he had lost handle of his board the second time he was dragged under. Shark took him under a second time by the foot, and he was able to, he kicked at the shark with his free foot, and he says at the same time a wave had came in and hit them, and the shark released, and that was the end of the attack. The other guy got there and he was able to get in. He had some damage to his right foot. they said that it was a 1.5, so you're talking 5 to 6 foot ragged tooth shark. So something like a gray nurse. I would think a gray nurse grabbed a hold of him and was trying to drag him under. It doesn't take a large shark. They're in their environment. We're not very good swimmers compared to them, and a little 5, 6 footer can drag you under and drown you. So you really got to be careful. You always want to fight those sharks. Even if it is a small shark, you want to fight it right away and hit the thing, because they're not used to being hit most of the time by what they're attacking. Usually it's fish when it's sharks like that, and there's no real way for a fish to defend itself the way that we can. So I think that helps in more cases than not. That's our attack on Wayne Monk. We're going to put this down as an attack, not an attempt to predate by a ragged tooth shark. We're just not certain what species. Okay, now we're going to head just north of the Juno Beach Pier, which is in Jupiter, Florida. The date is June 26th of 2012. Nickolaus Bieber, he is 6 years old, and he is body surfing in waves. So he's out in, they say, 2.5 feet of waves, 2.5 foot deep water, and he's just like laying in the water, letting the waves take him a little ways. So he's body surfing in the waves, and it's 7 o'clock at night. His mother is right by him, and suddenly he turns to her and says, "Mom, I've been bit." He later says that he saw a shark, he saw a fish thrashing in the water, and that's when he got bit in the leg. He turned to his mom and said, "Mom, I've been bit." She immediately picked him up and took him into the shore. Pretty brutal. I mean, 7-inch long gash that removed a bunch of flesh. So a lot of his thigh got removed in this single bite by this shark that was thrashing around right next to him. I'm wondering if it was thrashing when it was biting him and he didn't know it, which is what it seems like to me. Doesn't sound like a very large shark. They say that it, the bite wound was, like I said, was 7 inches long. So you're figuring probably a 6 foot shark or so that got a hold of him. He says Nickolaus, 6 years old, thinks it was a bull shark because he got a good look at it. Very possible it was a bull shark. They really love to take pieces off of thighs, especially when they get a hold of them. So very possible, but I would just say right now that I'm not positive what type of shark. They did not get any teeth off of it. The bite was almost to the bone, so it was a pretty deep bite to begin with, and then it removed the flesh along with it. So Nickolaus goes down as an attack, not an attempt to predate. We just don't know what kind of shark. Okay, now we're going to finish on our unprovoked attacks over off the southeast Farallon Island. That is in California, and the date is December 6th, 1975. Robin Buckley, 27 years old. He is part of 2 groups of divers. There's 8 of them total. He is in the first group that enters the water, so probably 4 of them enter the water. They descend. It's about 35 feet deep. It's noon. They're about just over 100 yards from shore. Like I said, they're in 35 foot deep water, and they go down to the bottom. Shortly after they enter the water, the second group, they enter the water and they go down and they meet up with the first group. Both groups meet at the bottom of the water at around just before noon, and then they go off in opposite directions. So 4 go one way, 4 go the other way. Robin is with that first group that entered the water, and he is with that group when they go about 10 yards. They went from 10 yards from their meeting point with the other group, and then Robin goes off on his own as he's down there spearfishing. So he sees a lingcod and he goes ahead and spears it, and in the struggle the cod gets off and it's gone. Now he sees a second one and he shoots it, and now he's got that one and he's got it secure. So he starts to ascend to the surface, and right when he starts ascending, he says he looks up and he sees a large shark. And he sees the large shark. Now, the visibility is very good. It's like 20 meters, so that you can see 50 feet away from you. He can see the shark turn and start swimming towards him. So now he's freaking out. He takes his lingcod and he just drops that, hoping that the shark will follow that to the speared fish to the bottom. And the shark just goes past that, just like with the tiger shark we went over back with the gentleman collecting mollusks or something. The shark didn't worry about the bag, it just kept coming for him. So now he's swimming backwards trying to keep his eye on the shark. The shark is still coming at him. It's not a fast attack. This shark is just deliberate. It reminds me of Heather Boswell by what I'm gathering on this attack. It's just casually coming at him. It's just below him in the water column. Now he's just a few meters from the surface. So he's about 15 feet from the surface now in 35 deep water, and the shark is just below him and it's coming at him. It sounds like mouth open, and he says when it gets a couple meters from him, so about 7 feet from him, he sees it just take both of its pectorals and pushes them down, which probably gives it lift, which lifts it up, and it just clamped down on his leg. Sounds like it was a lot like Heather Boswell, where it was just deliberate. It was just going to do this. It knew that nothing was going to stop it from doing it, and it bites him on his leg, holds him there, doesn't thrash him around, and then releases him, and he swims to the surface and yells "shark" to everybody. And then he looks down looking for the shark. He sees the other must be the other group. He saw 4 other divers down there that were by rocks. So he started swimming down to the divers, and this is shortly after he was attacked. He's swimming down there to warn them, and then they all got to see the shark as it showed up about 10 meters from them, so about 30 feet away. They were able to watch the shadow of the shark swimming around as they just kept to the bottom now and made their way till they saw the silhouette of the boat. And then Robin was the first one up. They got him up on the boat, and then they got the others up in. No other incidents other than the bite on Robin. I think it is a lot like not the bite on Heather Boswell, the first bite on the first guy in that group with Heather Boswell. When it bit him in the thigh, I think that was a test bite. You know, we talk about these bites and these test bites, and I think these test bites happen a lot from large great whites in low visibility, or when they're just, you know, out to see if they're in the mood for a meal. Got his lower leg, and he might be lucky there. Did a lot of damage to it, but there's not a lot of meat there. And I think that helped him out in the situation to have the shark decide not to go further with the attack. We're going to put this down as an attack, not an attempt to predate. They said it was, the witnesses and Robin all said it was a 5 to 6 meter great white shark, so you're talking anywhere from 17 to 20 foot great white shark had grabbed him by the leg, and he had to sit there and watch that thing swimming right at him. This is one of those cases where that shark didn't care that he was watching him the whole way in. Those deliberate attacks like that, those things are rough, because it seems like the shark's made up his mind long ago it's going to come and at least test what it is. So that's our story. Robin Warren, attack, not an attempt to predate. Okay, now before we get into the end of the show, what you been eating, shark, I wanted to go through and show you another little thing that I got, another gift from Bonnie, not from Arizona, Bonnie, from Virginia. She got me another coaster. I have the first coasters up there that I use, that she got me, my shark one, but this is a new coaster, and you can see that the shark, it has an arm in its mouth. I don't know if you can see that. Oh, maybe if I turn this, maybe we can get a good shot of that. I don't know, maybe not. But the shark's got an arm in its mouth. See? No, you can't see nothing. Shark's got an arm in its mouth, and it's got a fork in one fin, it's got a knife in the other fin, and it's predating. And on the side of the cup it says, Hal says it's an attempt to predate. This is an awesome mug again, and an awesome second coaster. I have my other coaster and mug upstairs. They are in use. I have both of my cup holders in my Camaro, so we're all set with that. Now that we got that out of the way, I wanted to bring up both stores are open, sharkshappen.com, sharkshappen2.etsy.com. I'll have to put the links. I'll have to put the links into the description. The actual links from the browser to be able to have you just one click and get there. I'm not sure how people are getting there right now, but I'll try to put those in there. And I also wanted to say, I wanted to get into this, you know, I still see a lot of lightning strikes, bees, all these comparisons with shark attacks. Why don't we require that they tell us something else that'll eat you? I mean, we're not talking about dying in a car accident where you get injured and you're going to die from that. Something is eating you. It's a different thing. And, you get stung by a bee. this cracks me up because they try to say that the sharks are not the cause of the death, but the bee is the cause of the death. No, there's an allergic reaction to the bee sting, to whatever venom is going in there. There's an allergic reaction by the person, and the allergic reaction kills the person. It ain't the bees going around eating the people. Somebody brought up cows. Yeah, now we're going to bring up cow accidents. So they're not going around eating people either. I don't care what the numbers of cow deaths are. How many cows have eaten people each year? Same thing with anything. So then we could, all of a sudden you're talking about eating something. Oh yeah, all right. What about lions? What about bears? What about hippos? What about all these? Yeah, I'm going to stay away from all those things because they'll eat you. I'm not staying away from bees because I might get stung, because I know that I've been stung many times. I don't have that allergy. I don't have to worry about it. I mean, the Wiley peanut, how many people are the peanut out there eating? So, when you hear these comparisons, just in one ear and out the other, unless somebody's going to bring up something that eats you, and then once they do that, and say, okay, are you going to go hang out around that thing? Or are you going to go and start do some, play some volleyball over there by the hippo camp, over there in the lion's den? You're going to set up volleyball camp there and see if you can get away with it? I mean, it's for some reason the water is totally different. So, the lightning strikes, there's 100 million to a billion lightning strikes a year that has the potential to hit everybody at all times, whereas is there 100 million great white tiger and bull sharks? I mean, the big three that attack people? I would say the numbers are those. If you listen to them, there's like 5 of them out there if you listen to the experts. We only have 5 sharks left total. That's what they sound like to me. The same thing as a lot of left-wing stuff is this scare tactic to try to get their way. I ignore it all. So that's our story of that. I want to get into the end of the show, which is what you've been eating, shark. Today's what you've been eating, shark, is unknown. We don't have a name on this one. This happened over in Kohala, Hawaii, and this was 1979. A gentleman was fishing from shore, and he disappeared. And all they found of him was his hand and his flashlight. So that leads me to a couple questions. It sounds like he was taken by a pretty big shark. And, a lot of these people that fish from shore, that walk out into the shore, once you're out there fishing from shore, especially if you're bringing in fish that are wiggling and fighting and injured, you're going to attract attention to things that are in the water. So it sounds like he attracted the attention of probably a large tiger shark, as I'm thinking. To only have the hand and the flashlight left is the other thing. Where were these two things located? Was the hand still holding the flashlight, is my question. So a lot of questions with this unknown victim over in Hawaii in 1979, but we know what the shark had been eating. The shark had been eating the unknown victim. How he got a hold of him, I would think that the guy was out there, standing waist deep, if not more, fishing, trying to get further out past the breakers with his casts, and something got a hold of him. So he was out there to catch a fish, and it sounds like a fish caught him. So that's our story. That's our What You've Been Eating, shark. I hope you enjoyed the show. Like I said earlier in the show at the opening, please, when you see these bots, it's a bot that has to be popping in there saying, let's chat, let's talk, get a hold of me. You're not going to get anything like that from me. You're going to get usually a like on your comment, and a lot of the questions, if I have an answer or if I know the answer off the top of my head, I'll answer the question for you. Other than that, you're not going to have this two-way conversation in the comment section of the community board. Maybe one of these days I'll figure out how to do a live stream, and we'll do something about that to where maybe we could talk that way. But one other announcement before I go, like I said, the 25th and 26th of February, coming up pretty soon. I'll be down there in Isla Mirada, Florida, but the flea market, this nautical flea market, it takes place at Founders Park, which is the park where I went to the beach and showed you where that marine biologist took that night swim out a quarter mile out to the sailboat and ended up getting bit. That's exactly where we're having that. That's exactly where they have that flea market. So we'll be in a booth in that on the 25th and 26th of February. But now the weekend after that, so now 2 weekends in a row, I'll be at another booth. I got to find out the location. I'm going back down to the Keys in about 10 days. I'll be down there at Halloween. I got to go down there and golf with my dad a few times. We're going over a little bit of work stuff to coordinate this booth and these shows we have coming up in February. So I'll be down there for 2 weekends in a row at my booth selling, you know, my t-shirts, my hats, my pens, and I'll be there the whole weekend. So if you want to come on down to the Florida Keys, especially if you're in somewhere like Michigan here, where we just had snow this morning, 40-degree weather all week. It's very nice to get down there, especially this time of year. The traffic is lighter. There's not as many people down there in October that there normally is. And I always have a good time down there. So it'd be great to see you down there. And if you can, get down there. And if not, if you go into that water, you are much more afraid of those sharks than they are of you.